There is a Tuesday meeting on your manager's calendar. You were not invited. You will never know it happened. But by the time it ends, you have already been let go. You just have not been told yet. The official documents will say it took 90 days, the performance improvement plan, the check-ins, the chance to turn it around. That timeline is theater. The real decision was made before you noticed anything was wrong. After reading 500 PIP documents across companies of every size, one pattern is consistent. The PIP is not the start of your termination. It is the end of a process you were never invited into. That process has a name. It is called the documentation window. The documentation window is the 30 to 90 days before your PIP arrives. During that window, your manager has already decided. They are not building a case for whether to fire you. They are building a case for how to fire you cleanly. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how the documentation window operates. And once you can see it, you cannot miss the signs. The signs are visible weeks before any official conversation. They were always visible. You were just looking at the wrong calendar. Think about a colleague named Marcus, senior engineer, 12 years at the company, strong reviews for a decade. Then, in March, his manager started forwarding his emails to her own inbox at the end of each week. By April, Marcus noticed his one-on-ones moved from a casual Tuesday slot to a formal Wednesday meeting room. By May, his manager started replying to his Slack messages in writing instead of dropping by his desk. Marcus thought his manager was finally taking him seriously. His manager was building the file. In June, the PIP arrived. Marcus was stunned. From his perspective, nothing had changed. He was hitting his targets. He had received positive feedback in April. His manager had even praised his last project. From the system's perspective, everything had changed. The decision had been made in February. Everything between February and June was paper trail. This is the part most people get wrong about a PIP. They believe it is a warning. They believe it is a chance to improve. They believe their manager wants them to succeed and is genuinely worried about their performance. Here is the part nobody warns you about. By the time a PIP is drafted, HR has already been consulted.
The manager has already had the conversation with their own manager. The replacement candidate is already in the pipeline. Legal has already reviewed the documentation. The PIP is not a fork in the road. It is the final hallway before the exit. The documentation window has consistent signals. These are not theories. These are patterns that show up in 500 files. Your one-on-ones change format. They move from conversation to checklist. Your manager starts taking notes. The meeting room replaces the coffee break. Your emails start getting CC'd to your manager's manager. Not always, just often enough that you do not notice until later. Verbal feedback disappears. Written feedback appears. Compliments that used to live in chat now live in performance summary documents. Your project assignments shift. You stop getting the work you are good at. You start getting work designed to expose what you are weak at. Or worse, you get nothing. The silent benching, where you are kept busy but no longer on anything that matters. Your manager stops asking your opinion in meetings. You may not even register this one, but 6 weeks ago you were a voice in the room. Now you are a name in the attendance list. This is the documentation window operating exactly as designed. It is quiet, it is patient, it is methodical. By the time you sense something is wrong, the file is already 3 months thick. Consider what happens to a colleague named Priya, director level, 15 years in finance. In January, she got a new VP. By February, the VP was asking for weekly written status reports. By March, she was asked to document her decision-making process on a deal that had closed without issue. By April, she was asked to send a written summary of every meeting she attended. Priya thought she was being given visibility. Her VP was building a story. The story is not about her performance.
The story is about her judgment. The story will be used in a calibration conversation where Priya is not present. The story will be used to justify a decision that has already been made. This is what the documentation window is for. It is not punishment, it is not management, it is the architecture of a clean termination. A clean termination is one where nobody can argue. Not Priya, not HR, not a lawyer she might hire 6 months later. Here is what we call this, the documentation window, and once you have a name for it, you cannot stop seeing it. You will see it in your colleagues. You will see it in your own past, in roles you left without understanding why the ending felt so prearranged. If this has happened to you, or if you are watching this right now and seeing the pattern in your own week, hear this clearly. You did everything right. You worked hard. You hit your targets. You took on more. You stayed late. You believed the relationship was a relationship. The relationship was a record. From the moment your manager decided, every interaction became data. This is not a failure of effort. It is a failure of the map. Nobody handed you the map. You were navigating a system whose rules you were never given. Once you know the documentation window exists, the signals are not subtle. They are loud. The format change in your one-on-ones, the new CC list on your emails, the shift from verbal to written, the benching that looks like rest, the compliments that have moved into formal documents. The PIP is not the warning. The PIP is the receipt. The warning is everything that happened in the 30 days before the PIP. And by the time the PIP arrives, the warning has already been ignored because you were never told to listen for it. That is what the documentation window is. That is what a PIP actually announces. And that is what your manager has already decided, weeks before you walked into the room. That is corporate GPS, the map they never handed you.